What do you think? Is it pretty tasty? Oh God, you're a very messy eater.
Hey guys, I'm Christina Nguyen, chef and owner of Hi Hyatt, based in Minneapolis. Today, we're going to make an amazing aromatic 7-ingredient base for a variety of Southeast Asian dishes. Then from that, I'll show you how to make a Southern Thai-inspired curry, my mom's marinated beef skewers, sauteed Balinese cauliflower with green beans, and turmeric dill fish from Hanoi with rice noodles. So this 7-ingredient paste is inspired by a trip to Bali that we had where we ate the most delicious suckling pig. I couldn't get the flavors out of my mind, so really wanted to recreate it after I got back home. That's kind of where this paste was created, and then afterwards I found out that it was really delicious on all kinds of things, so I'm really excited to share this with you. First, we're gonna start with some lemongrass. To release the aroma, you're gonna really beat the living hell out of it. I wanna cut the bottoms off, and then we kind of just wanna use like the white parts. So yeah. Next, we're gonna do some ginger, also a half a cup. Peel this. Sometimes the ginger, if it has kind of a bluish tint to it, don't be afraid. That just means it's super delicious, good ginger. When you're thinking of pounding things in a mortar and pestle, you just wanna kind of get things to like a nice little bite-sized chunk. You know, you don't wanna like mince them because you're gonna wanna like pound them out a little bit. We're gonna do some shallots. Again, cut those into little bite-sized pieces. So next up we have some galangal. If you haven't used it before, it has kind of a pine-like flavor. It's really woody. It looks like ginger, but it's not. It's got a little more bite to it. I don't know if there's exactly a substitute. I would just like omit it if you can't get it because the paste is really delicious even without it. Next up we have turmeric. So that I'm gonna put a glove on because turmeric stains like crazy, and trust me, I have a lot of turmeric stained clothing. We're gonna pick a piece that's like about the size of your finger, and then we're just gonna peel it. You know, you could, if you couldn't get fresh turmeric, you could definitely probably use dry turmeric. So next we're gonna do lime leaf, which is my favorite. I don't know if you've smelled these lime leaves before, but they're pretty amazing. First, we're gonna just like remove the vein from them. You can either cut it out or do the lazy thing that I'm doing and just kind of tear them off the center. I like to kind of stack them up and then just kind of go really thin. All right, we have garlic, but we're just gonna leave that whole while we're mashing it in there, so we don't have to do anything with that. That's a bonus. Then if you want to, put in some Thai chili. I'd say 1 or 2. We're gonna go 1 right now, but now that we have everything cut up, then we can start mashing them away in the mortar and pestle. This one is a nice stone one. It's super heavy. You would not want this dropped on your foot or on your head. Anyways, that got dark really fast. Putting in like kind of like the hardest to break down things first. So let's see. I think that we could probably start with the galangals, and then lemongrass is also pretty fibrous. So we're gonna just start smashing away. Again, this really helps to release the aromatics. And you know, even though like if you wanted to, you definitely could just put this all in a blender or food processor, but smashing it just makes it way more fragrant. So we're just gonna mash this for like, you know, a few minutes, and then I'm gonna show you my secret trick or cheat. I'm gonna throw in the ginger and turmeric, and then why don't we just throw the lime leaf in there too. Okay, and then we're gonna throw a little bit more salt, keep it from slipping and keep things from flying out of here, which I've definitely done before. I'm actually kind of surprised that nothing has flown out of here and hit me in the head yet, so that's great. Okay, we got shallots in, we got garlic, and then we got some Thai chilies. And we're gonna throw a little bit more salt in there and a tiny bit of sugar. All right, and we're gonna keep pounding. It's not hard, but it's also not easy. Definitely gonna make you work for this food. We're gonna cheat it a little bit and finish buzzing it up with an immersion blender. So we got our little handheld immersion blender. I don't know if you guys have one of these at home, but if you don't, you could also just throw this into a food processor or a blender. All right, I feel like that's looking pretty good. And I'm just gonna mix in a little bit of oil, like whatever kind you want. I mean, I am going grapeseed oil with it, but you can use any other neutral oil. This is our paste that is super versatile that we're gonna make into a bunch of different dishes. So now we'll move on to our first dish, the Southern Thai inspired curry. I don't know too many people who don't love some version of a Thai coconut milk curry. So yeah, we have some fish sauce, some shrimp paste that we're gonna throw in there. We got coconut milk, and then we got some palm sugar, chicken thighs, and then yeah, just whatever veggies you have around, you can just throw them in there. So we're gonna start by chopping up some of our vegetables. Red pepper first. I think the main thing to remember when you're kind of like, you know, cutting vegetables to like cook in a curry, like in a one pot situation, is that you want the vegetables to all kind of get finished at the same time. So if something's like harder, like a carrot, maybe you want to cut it in smaller pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and just turn this on kind of like a medium high heat. We're just gonna let this get a little warm, and then I'm gonna throw in a little bit of oil. We are going to start with this delicious smelling shrimp paste. And yeah, as soon as you open it, you can definitely smell it. Like, I love shrimp paste, but yeah, your housemate might complain about it like mine does. Anyways, he's always like, yeah, I can smell the shrimp paste from outside. Yeah, you just kind of fry it up in that oil. So you got that shrimp paste frying. Next, we are gonna throw in quite a bit of this aromatic paste, actually. All right, so then we're gonna just kind of fry that around a little bit. So we got that going. Next, we're gonna throw in some things like onions. Kind of let that sweat just a bit. Maybe right now you wanna like, or maybe before this actually, you'd wanna start cooking some rice. All right, so I just threw in the bell peppers and then carrots too. Smells really amazing in here. I do not have my hood on, so I'm excited that my whole house is going to smell like this delicious paste and shrimp paste later. I have nothing against it. Shrimp paste it's polarizing. I think it's great because like, if you're doing it right, then just adds like a savory depth to your dishes. You don't want to be spilling any of it in your car. Much like fish sauce, like I once did when I was like 16. That is a mistake that I will never make again. The veggies have a nice little, you know, they got a little color, they're partially cooked. So this is when we're gonna wanna add the coconut milk. All right, we're gonna turn up the heat a little bit when we're adding this just so that it really starts to simmer. And then we're just gonna kinda let that heat up, do its thing. All right, now is when you kind of add like your fun little inedible things that you'll want to pick out later. So I'm throwing like the ginger slices in. It's pretty funny when somebody just takes a giant bite of ginger thinking that's like a carrot or a parsnip or something. So we threw one Thai chili in. Just throw 2 in there. If you are smart, unlike me, you would probably be using gloves when you're cutting or dealing with Thai chilies. I wear contacts, so I'm gonna have a really fun surprise later when I remember that, yeah, the Thai chili oils are incredibly hard to wash off with your fingers. Use gloves next time. So we're gonna throw 1 or 2 lime leaves in there, and yeah, and then I'm just gonna throw it in whole, dish it out later. So I'm gonna add the chicken right now. This has been cooking for a little while. We just kind of wanna time it so that they're all sort of done. All the vegetables, all the chicken, done around the same time. I'm gonna stop messing with that. I'm just gonna let that hang out for a second. Forgot to add my lemongrass. So we have, remember those upper parts of the lemongrass from earlier when we were making the aromatic paste? You don't wanna use too far up into the green part of the lemongrass, but this will all be really delicious in here. Just put whatever you have in there. I mean, even this part, we can just throw a bunch of scraps in. It's a lot of scraps, but it's also a lot of flavor. You know, I came into being a chef in kind of a roundabout way. Definitely never went to like culinary school. I'm self-taught. So this curry, the coconut milk is reducing to a nice level. Everything looks like it's cooked through. You can see from the line that it's like reduced quite a bit. Ooh, it's really good. And the reason that you don't want to season it too soon is because as it reduces, like those flavors are gonna concentrate a lot more. So, you know, if you put in fish sauce like way too early, then, you know, it could get super salty by the time that it thickens up. So adding it now when we're just about to finish is like a really good place to add it. We'll start with like a tablespoon of fish sauce, a tablespoon or so of palm sugar. I'm gonna put a little bit of black pepper in there. Yeah, that is like right there. So I have some of that coconut jasmine rice that I cooked earlier. Right now, if you wanted to, you could probably fish out the inedible things in there that were simmering. Spoon some of this delicious curry onto the plate. Then we're just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that lime leaf on there. And we're gonna take a couple basil leaves, add some peanuts on there. We just have some roasted and buzzed up peanuts. All right. Yeah, this is super tasty. So yeah, so that's that. That's our Southern inspired Thai coconut milk curry. Next up, we have some beef skewers. We're gonna kind of use this aromatic paste and mix it with my mom's sort of famous marinating sauce. We're gonna start with, you know, a couple tablespoons of this delicious aromatic paste, this super versatile paste. Just gonna go equal parts, like a half a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Got a little of that shaoxing, or you could substitute with a sherry wine too. And then we're just gonna put some honey in there. So today for the skewers, we're using flank steak because it's really nice and flavorful, and you know, they still have a little tooth to them. They're not gonna melt in your mouth, but it's like just delicious. So I threw this flank steak in my freezer for about like, I mean, you can throw it in for like 15 minutes or up to half an hour. You don't want it to be like frozen. You just want it to be kind of like hard so that when you're slicing it thinly, it's kind of, you know, it's a little easier to slice through it. When you're slicing the flank, you just kind of want to get like a thin 1/4 inch or so. So we're going to cut across the grain, and then we're going to cut it at a 45-degree angle. I mean, I would definitely recommend like marinating it for at least a few hours, but you know, with the magic of television today, we're gonna just pretend that it's been marinating for a long time. So we got our steak here, we got our marinade. We're just gonna like toss it around in there. I'm just gonna use my hands, even though later I might find some turmeric stains on my fingernails. So then we're just gonna like, you know, skewer these up. Let's make like 4 skewers. It's just gonna be a little skewer snack. This like motion of doing skewers really reminds me of my childhood, because I definitely became the skewer bitch a lot of times, but I got really good at it. So it's gonna be the perfect combination of high food and my mom's best ever marinade. So yeah, shout out to my mom. What's up, Mom? She's totally gonna kill me later, isn't she? She's gonna be like, what? That's our family secret. All right, so we got a few skewers here. All right, so we got our sheet pan with a rack on it. Our oven's nice and hot, ready to go. Before we throw them on, we just wanna brush them with a little bit of oil. And then we're just gonna lay those skewers on, nice and spaced. And yeah, this will be a tasty little snack. Actually, right before we pop them in, sorry, rewinding, we're gonna toss a little bit of salt and pepper on them just because. Okay, now we're ready. We're going in. All right, I feel like these are probably cool enough to try. All right, so, oh boy. That's really good. You might look at these and think like, those look a little burnt, but it's like, no, that's the good stuff. That's all that sugar from oyster sauce and honey caramelizing, and I don't know, it's pretty tasty. So I hope you get to try them. Next, we're gonna make this sauteed Bali cauli, it rhymes, Balinese inspired cauliflower with green beans. This is actually a vegan dish and it's really good. Our oven is still gonna be on broil from earlier when we made the skewers, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up the pan. We're gonna get a little bit of water in there. I got a pan here. We just put half a cup of water in. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little salt in there. Just like cut half of a head of cauliflower. And then I have like, again, a fistful. I only count green beans by the fistful. So you have a fistful of green beans and they're just cut in half. And I got some sliced Thai chilies to add a little heat later, and some shallots that are sliced thinly. So the water is going. And we're just gonna throw that cauliflower, and oh boy, this was a really big head of cauliflower, so that is a tight fit, but I think we can do it. I don't know, it'll cook down, it'll be fine. We're going full force. We're just gonna throw all those bad boys in there. We're just gonna throw a lid on there and just let that kind of steam and par cook for a little bit. I really recommend using coconut oil for this one, because then you're gonna get those really like Balinese flavors. All right, so yeah, I mean, we're not trying to like cook them all the way through. We're not even really cooking them so they're al dente, because what we're gonna do is when these are ready, we're gonna drain off the rest of the water that's left there, and then we're just gonna add some oil to the pan and just start cooking, and then we're gonna give it color later by broiling it in the oven for a little bit. So we just drained off the water, and now we're gonna add some oil. So we can just keep seasoning it a little bit more, because, you know, cauliflower really likes to suck up tons of salt. I mean, I love black pepper too, so I definitely will crack some of that on there. If you want to, you could drizzle a little bit more oil. So for this dish, you definitely don't have to just use cauliflower and green beans. I mean, you could do potatoes are really good with this aromatic taste. I mean, just literally the sky's the limit. It's not technically, oh, that's my smoke detector, because it doesn't love that the hood's off right now. Sorry. Should I just continue and pretend like none of that happened?
Yep.
So now that these vegetables have some color in them, we're gonna go ahead and, yeah, so it's starting to brown a little bit. We're just gonna toss a little bit of paste in there. It's pretty amazing. You can get a lot of dishes out of this one batch of paste that you're gonna make. We're gonna just like throw a little bit more coconut oil in. Definitely getting to that point where like the cauliflower is getting tender. So then we're gonna add some shallots, some Thai chili. Just gonna toss that in the oven. Like, we're just gonna throw it in there for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. We got our searing hot pan. Yeah, I mean, that's got some nice color to it. Just gonna plate it here. So then we're gonna sprinkle our lime leaf on. We put a little fried shallot on there. I don't know, just finishing it with a tiny bit of lime so that there's some acid. You could totally garnish that with some, ooh, we should put some chili crisp on here. One of my favorite condiments. We make our own at Hi and it's super delicious because it has coconut oil as the base. So this is like fried garlic and fried shallots in there, and of course chili. Yeah. I hope that it is cooled off enough that I'm not going to completely burn my mouth. We'll find out really soon. All right. Just below mouth searing temperature, but totally delicious. Definitely adding the lime on there just like brightened up the whole thing. Yeah, feeling good about this. Feeling good about the chili crisp on there too for a little extra texture. Yeah, I'm just gonna go hide in a corner and eat this whole plate now. So last but not least is one of my favorite dishes that we serve at our restaurant, turmeric dill fish. This is a real dish that I did not make up. If you don't already have some nước chấm lying around, which is like the kind of ubiquitous Vietnamese dipping sauce. Yeah, it's super simple. I'll just throw one together really quick because that's gonna be the dressing for the dish. So we're gonna do a half a cup of hot water. Oh boy. This might not be the right size bowl for me. I'm gonna just level up and get a slightly larger one. Okay, then we're gonna go 1/4 cup of sugar, just white sugar. We have the sugar dissolved in some water. We're gonna throw some lime juice in there. So I don't know, my mom would always tell me that when you're making a nước chấm, then you want it to kind of taste like balanced limeade before you add the fish sauce. I'm gonna do about like half of a Thai chili. We're gonna use 2.5 tablespoons of fish sauce. And then we wanna try it just to make sure that it is tasting balanced. Yeah, that's tasty, that's super good. At our restaurant, we like to use cod for this dish. I like to cut it in like around 2-inch squares. Just gonna do some nice little chunks, these nice pieces here. We're gonna heat up our pan, quick make turmeric salt, a tablespoon of ground turmeric to 1 teaspoon. I'm just gonna eyeball it of salt. Mix it up a little bit, and then we're gonna coat the fish in that. So let's just, while this is heating up, let's throw a little oil in there and get it hot. A little drizzle of oil. Dust these with some turmeric all over. That oil is probably just about hot at this point. All right, and then we're just gonna go ahead and put these bad boys in there. We're gonna put some scallions and dill in there to wilt after this. And again, we're gonna use that really delicious aromatic paste to kind of just up the ante on the flavor. All right, check it out. See how the color looks. It's looking nice. Oh yeah. All right. Dill is an interesting one in this dish just because, you know, dill isn't really like a commonly used Vietnamese herb, like not as common as some of the other ones that we'll show you later. So I already cooked some rice noodles, you know, just we're using the thin vermicelli noodles. I'm gonna start taking the smaller pieces out because I think those are done. I'm just gonna set these on here. I like using cod for this because it's just kind of like, you know, a nice flaky, more neutral fish. All right, so now we're gonna incorporate that a little bit more oil, and then we're gonna throw a little bit more of that paste in. So we're gonna throw a big handful of scallion in there and kind of stir it around with some of this aromatic paste. It's a good time right now to add the dill. We're gonna just do, again, like just a big old handful of dill. We're gonna wilt this a little bit. Might seem a little crazy how much dill we're putting in, but it's gonna be really tasty. This is ready, this is looking good, very verdant, not totally wilted, but you know, cooked. We're just gonna top the fish with all this. Next, you're gonna wanna garnish it with some herbs. So we have a whole array of Vietnamese herbs here, and we're just gonna use like, you know, a small amount of a bunch of herbs and just kind of tear them up. We're gonna toss a little mint in there. So we're throwing on some cilantro, we got that mint, and then this is a new one that maybe you have or haven't had, but it's called, we call it rau ram in Vietnamese. It's also called like Vietnamese coriander. This is like one of my other favorite herbs that we call tieto, and it's like a purple perilla. So yeah, we're gonna just garnish that all around. And then we got some peanuts. Definitely throw some Thai chilies on top if you want to be a little spicy. Do a couple little sprigs of raw dill on top just because that handful of dill like wasn't enough. So this is the turmeric dill fish, and then we're gonna take that dressing that we made earlier, that nuc jam, and then we're gonna, you know, spoon a little bit on top and then eat it. So I got my chopsticks ready to go. All right, first we're gonna drizzle some of this nuc jam on. Flavors go really well together, so you're not gonna like drown out all of this other flavor at all. All right, so I'm gonna dig in now that this is all sauced up. All right, this looks pretty tasty. Smells really good. All right, we're going for it. Tastes like Vietnamese Christmas. All right, so there you have it. So now that you know how to make all these dishes, which one looks best to you? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Food and Wine's YouTube channel. And thanks again for watching Chefs at Home.
Bye, Tofu.